Hi everyone. Today we are starting chapter 10 and we are actually going to jump right in to section 10.3, which deals with solving radical equations. And you probably won't believe me until we get into this, but I promise that this section is easier than what we were doing in chapter 9. So hopefully you guys will feel the same as we're working through these problems today. So, a radical equation is just any equation that contains a radical expression. So, it has the square root or the cube root, and within that radical, they have a variable. So, to give you an example, I have an example of a radical equation which shows the square root of x plus 9 is equal to 12. So in example 1, we have two radical equations that we are going to want to solve. In letter A, we have the square root of x plus 5 is equal to 13. And in letter B, we have 3 minus the square root of x is equal to 0. So I'll go ahead and walk you through the steps and how you'll solve both of these equations. Remember that with this equation, my goal is still to get the variable or to get x all by itself. So the first step in solving this equation is I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides of the equal sign. I'm left with the square root of x is equal to 8. My next step in order to get rid of the square root symbol, that radical symbol, is to square both sides. So taking the square root of something and then squaring it, those are inverse or opposite operations, so they will cancel each other out. So when I square the square root of x, I'm left with just regular old x on the left side, and then on the right side I'll do 8 squared, which is equal to 64. So my solution is x is equal to 64. Now I didn't write this down, but if I wanted to check my solution, I could just replace x in the original equation with 64. So the square root of 64 plus 5 should be equal to 13. And we know that the square root of 64 is 8, so 8 plus 5 is equal to 13, which means that I can be certain that my solution here is correct. In letter B, I have 3 minus the square root of x is equal to 0. My first step here, I decided to add the square root of x to both sides because I want to get x all by itself, so that kind of gets rid of that negative. And I'm left with 3 is equal to the square root of x. My last step here is to square both sides of the equation so that I can get rid of that square root symbol that is near the x. And I'm left with x is equal to 9, and that is my final solution. All right, here are your 4 monitoring progress problems. So go ahead and click pause on the video and give these 4 problems a try, and then I will walk you through the solutions next. All right, the solution to number 1 was x is equal to 36. The solution to number 2 was x is equal to 100. The solution to number 3 is y is equal to 49. And the solution to number 4 is c is equal to 9.